But while they're having this fight, Brooks calls Meredith to say Happy Mother's Day. And everybody thinks that's atrocious. And like, I kind of don't though, right? Like you're on vacation and yeah, you're in a fight, but like your kid calls. Your kid calls
Answer
you
the
into the
phone.
phone. Hey,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I'm like, let her live.
yeah.
And I will say, I hated the Heather confessional with her on the phone, like mocking Meredith. I just kind of felt like in that moment, it was a bit try hard and it did not land, I don't think, the way that Heather wanted it to land.
Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are talking about Vanderpump Rules and the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Now, I am so lucky today to be joined by Morgan from Morgan's Pop Talks, one of my favorite podcasts out there. She is the girl to go to if you want all of your pop culture news. Morgan, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. Like I said, your show has been one of my faves for quite some time, right? And you are, you're the go-to girl in the reality TV sphere. The minute something happens in the news, you are posting about it. You are right there. You've got it. You've got all the tea. So if you're not following Morgan, which you probably are, start following her now because yeah, Morgan's like your reality TV guru in a sense. Is that how you would describe yourself?
Yeah, and that is the branding and marketing angle that we wanted. So I think it's good to hear this positive, affirmation, feedback.
Amazing. Well, you're doing it right. You're doing it right. Okay. I mean, so today we're talking about the old Vanderpump Rules and we're talking about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, or sorry, the new Vanderpump Rules and
I
Real
wish we were
Housewives of
talking
Salt
about
Lake
the old
City.
Vanderpump Rules.
It's funny because I'm covering it on my Patreon and I really thought it might be kind of boring because it's my favorite show of all time, but it's also like my background show. It's always on. I know it off by heart. So I'm like, this is going to be
Same.
dumb. But it's actually been really fun and fascinating to compare it to the new show, but also to compare it to these Vanderpump characters that still exist in our zeitgeist, right? Like it's 10,
Mhm.
12 years later, but they're still in our TVs or they're still on, social media. We're still seeing what they're doing. So it's really interesting to look at them in the days of yore, but then also looking at them today and to see how they changed or lack thereof. But yeah, the new Vanderpump Rules. I mean, what were your initial thoughts going into this when we heard about it? Were you one of those people that was like, I'm not going to watch it, not going to do it? Or were you like, okay, I'm going to give it a chance because it's my job?
Yeah, I reluctantly watched it. I had to, but I also feel like, sometimes I feel like as Bravo content creators, you don't ever want to um how do I say it? I wasn't afraid to say how I really felt about the Vanderpump Rules reboot, even though I love Bravo and I love, everything that they do. I was very against it from the get go, from this reboot. And,
Right.
it's just genuinely how I feel. So I didn't want to, um, lie and say I'm looking forward to it when I really when I really
Right.
wasn't. I just feel like it could have been done so differently that would have eliminated a lot of the issues that they have run into now. And I'm not entirely sure, what the thought process was behind not giving it a new name and not starting with a season one because, the overall consensus from the new cast and maybe even Lisa is don't compare it. Well, it's impossible not to when it's got the same theme song, the same, way that they put the theme song out there, with the intros and the characters. And it's impossible to separate the two. And so I feel like they're already on the back foot coming into it and it's made it really hard for viewers to give it a fair shake, I think. Also it's just a totally different landscape. I mean, when you think about when Vanderpump Rules started, I have only been to LA once, but I heard that Sir was the place to be 12 years ago. And I heard that it's not really the place to be now. And that's nothing against, their business model or anything like that. Lisa even said it in the first episode, after COVID, nightlife changed drastically. So I don't think it's entirely her fault. I just feel like people say all the time that the OG Vanderpump Rules was lightning in a bottle, and although it's oversaid, it's true. So I just feel like they were starting from the back foot from the get go.
I agree with everything that you said, and I feel like they should have learned from the new Roni. Don't call it new
Yeah.
Roni, don't call it season 15 or whatever it was. Call it a whole new thing because that's what it is. And I think you're very right in terms of the public was already so skeptical, right? So you had to do more to draw them in. And I mean, just given the lack of advertising in general was very odd, in my opinion. Like nobody's really been promoting it from the show prior to the show. I mean, there was such an opportunity to bring them to BravoCon. That was so odd to
Right.
me. The show came out, what, 2 weeks after BravoCon? It was such an opportunity for us to meet the cast, for us to maybe do a panel, have them answer questions, to have the audience get to know them. Because I think that the biggest problem that we end up having as viewers, and I'll admit I'm one of those people, we don't like change, right? And
Yeah.
we also need to be able to know people to be invested in them. And while that does take time with any new show, I don't think that the network did a lot to really try to get us there. They're doing it in little bits throughout the show, which is normal, right? You get to learn little bits about people as it goes through. But as of what are we in, episode 2 or 3, I'm not like super invested because I just don't care about these people. It also reminds me of like Love Island in a way. I don't know if you ever feel like this with Love Island. I don't care who ends up actually getting together because I don't know you. Like I don't know
Yeah.
your backstory. I don't know that much about you. There are just so many people. And so when like Iris and Pepe broke up, you're like, I hardly knew you, right? Like, am I supposed to be
Right.
sad? We don't really have like a lot of that context. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of stuff that they did wrong. I will say that there's a few things that maybe they've done right. I mean, like Natalie, I think is a star. I think she is a
Agreed.
great character. And from what I gather, I haven't done a lot of listening to the Vanderpump Rules episodes that other podcasters have been doing with the new cast. But the sense that I'm getting from like the clips is that they don't know much about that show. They're not trying to recreate anything. And I think we were really afraid of that going in. These are going to be a bunch of influencers who just want to get on the show, yada, 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 right? And I'm not getting that vibe from most of them. And at least that's good because if I felt like these were a bunch of like thirsty, influencer hungry type of people, I 100% would not be able to keep watching.
I think the OnlyFans cousins definitely are cloud
The
chasers.
cousins, yes, the cousins, and we will get to them for sure.
Yeah,
Those are some interesting characters.
yeah.
Okay, well, let's start with the Sir photo shoot, which is what they bring into this episode. And like Lisa's talking about how iconic it is, and I'm sure you remember it from back in the day. But I'm like thinking back to those days, and I'm like wondering what this was for, right? Because yes, it was
Yeah.
iconic, but for what? Because all I remember Jax ever saying was like, these photos are just to go on our website, and a lot of them were super old, where like Kristen and Stassi didn't work there anymore, but like those photo shoot photos were still on the website. So, what is your understanding of like what the Sir photo shoot is meant to be for?
I have genuinely no idea. Like, back in the day, I thought maybe it was just to have something to film. And I don't say
Yeah,
that like in the aspect that they didn't have anything to film. I just think anytime you can get them all together in swimsuits and with grapes over their butt, this stuff is bound to go sideways. But
right.
especially in like today's day and age, I don't even know. You would think that they would do like some type of social media campaign or like TikTok series about the surf photo shoot, and
That's a good idea.
kind of like what you were talking about before. There wasn't a lot of like promotion or whatever. That could have been an easy way to like, because they would have filmed that like a year ago, and who
Right.
knows? I mean, we might not have still cared either. We probably would have been like, I don't know who they are doing the surf photo shoot,
Right.
but it's an idea.
It reminded me, it like you said, it's hard not to compare, right? Like you see Audrey holding like a whole lobster, and it reminds me of like the other staff posing with like a pig with like an apple in its mouth,
Yeah, yeah.
Tom and Ariana being naked, but it's so different in a sense where Lisa's now trying to be like HR appropriate and being like, if you guys aren't comfortable taking off your shirts, that's okay. If you feel comfortable, in like again in like the days of yore, in OG Vanderpump days, she would be like, take your top off immediately or you're
Yeah.
fired.
Totally.
Put on the wings. Right? So it's interesting to watch her sort of. I never really thought she would change. I think in a lot of aspects she hasn't changed, but in those sort of respects, you hear her speak differently about business. I mean, even in season 10, she was like, you know, days, the times are different. You can't be a manager that's dating your staff. That can't be
Right,
anymore. And it's like, it never was.
right.
Okay, Lisa, but still. And then we meet this new girl. Her name is Angelica, and her entrance was hilarious. She falls immediately, which cute entrance. She's been doing Taekwondo for 10 years. She's super smart. And again, it's so hard not to compare, but she's giving me like a little bit Brittany Cartwright vibes because she comes off extremely kind and sweet. And we don't know her that well yet, but I'm kind of getting that sense from her. She's going to be like that really kind soul that everybody sort of looks to, maybe that mother hen type.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked her. I like that, not everybody was introduced on episode one. I think it
Yeah,
kind of introduces some new dynamics. I don't like how many new employees are now around, because it's like we have her and then we have the Chris Hahn, the cousin. So, I just it's hard to say because there's a lot of also overlap on when the Vanderpump Rules spinoff was actually supposed to happen pre-Scandival, right? Where a lot of these people started working at the restaurant then, so they have some
right.
history together. But there's also these new people, but I don't think it does them any favors because the criticism is already you've only hired these people to be on the show. So anytime I see that little new title line at the bottom, it just gives me like a bad vibe, which is unfortunate for her because, like I said, I enjoy her. It's only been one episode, but I could see myself really liking her and her being one of my favorites. I also really like Audrey. I feel like I got to know her more this episode.
Hmm.
And as the season continues to play out, I'm sure I'll have different opinions on the people. But I thought she was cute and nice.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens, right? There, we get a little bit more about her later where she says she still lives with her ex, which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
She says that she's one of those people that's just like falls hard and fast. She moves in with guys after like 3 months. This kind of reminded me of Jax, to be honest, where he's moving in with people like after 3 dates and stuff. And
Yep.
so, yeah, I think she may end up becoming like possibly like a boy crazy type of character. We don't really see that yet because she's still living with the ex, but like because she falls so hard and fast, and because she's already starting to show an interest in Jason, you could possibly see her being like, just falling for one of these guys really hard and quick, and then we end up in like another Kim and Marcus situation. I think we
Which
need to talk about Kim and Marcus. Oh my God, this couple, they to actually have the foresight to be able to call your own relationship toxic
right.
is one thing, but it's really wild to me because, I do really feel for all of the other cast members here, especially Venus, where he's like, listen, I'm friends with the both of you. I'm dealing with you guys fighting left, right, and center. You're actually like ruining my night because I'm at Audrey's birthday party and I'm having to console Kim here. And then in the morning, they're acting like no problem, nothing has gone wrong, and what is everybody else's problem? This kind of reminds me a little bit of Sandoval and Kristen back in the day because they were fighting left and right. Not even necessarily them, pretty much Kristen in any relationship because she would always complain to her friends, but then the next day act like that never happened and act like they were
Yeah.
absolutely crazy for bringing it up. So oh, have you ever had friendships like this where like, your best friend is always coming to you complaining about someone, but then acting like it's all fine the next day? Because that is your job as a friend, but that at the end of the day, that gets very exhausting in a friendship.
Oh, 1000%. I was in a sorority in college. So
Oh,
this
you
was
were
like
all day, every
all
day.
day, every day with girls, and it is hard when you're the friend in that situation because you want to be supportive, you want to be there for that person. But, frustration is inevitable when you're on the receiving end of, all of the venting sessions and whatever. And, by nature, we're more likely to complain, So it's like you don't tell your best friends all the great things that happen in your relationships. You tell, especially we're near that age, you tell them all the horrible things that are happening, and then
Right.
you don't tell them anything else. And so that's all they have. Now, I'm not saying that Kim and Marcus's relationship is good. I think it's very clear that they have a bit of a toxic relationship there, but I have been on that receiving end of just constant negativity, negativity, negativity. And so it's like, what do you expect? If you're Kim or Marcus, I don't understand how you can look at Venus and blame him for his reaction when you guys are the ones that are coming to him with all this toxicity in the first place. It's like, who's really the root of the issue? It's not Venus.
Right. And I think Marcus needs to take more accountability there because even when he sits down with Venus to discuss this, he's like, we'll just stay out of it. It's none of your business. And he's like, no, you're pulling it into our business, right? Which at the end of the day, they sort of have to, right? It's Vanderpump Rules. You do have to get in each other's business. But yeah, like, my sister actually said that to me once too. It's really funny the way you framed that because, like, when I had broken up with someone, she was like, I don't really understand why you're upset about this. She was in Florida traveling for the majority of the time that we were together. And so she wasn't there for any of the good parts. She was only listening to my texts and like voicemails about the bad parts. And she's like, I don't really understand why you're upset. And I'm like hysterical. And she's like, I didn't think
Right.
you liked him that much because you were constantly complaining about him. I don't remember you saying one nice thing about him. I'm like, well, you weren't here when like the good stuff was happening, right? But
Right.
then it does kind of fuck up your friendships as well, not just because of your friendship with that person now kind of being like, is this all we're going to talk about? Are you just going to complain about this? But it also affects like your friendships within the group as well, because it's like, you know, if you're going to be complaining about one person to one person and then complaining to another person about another person, it's just going to cause like more toxicity within the group as well.
Definitely. It just festers.
Yes. They really are. And there was a Vanderpump Rules, or sorry, a Sir event, I think that happened last week, where like a bunch of content creators were there and they were having like, I don't know, like a Sir party of some sort. And Kim and Marcus were there together in
Oh
current
gosh.
day, right? And it's just like, oh God, right? And it's funny because these people are young. And so we're just like, this is typical like LA in your early 20s. But like, maybe because we're out of that stage now, we're watching people who are younger, while maybe when we were watching original Vanderpump Rules, we were watching it sort of at the same time period in the same age. But watching this, you're just like, are these people that dumb? Do they not realize like how toxic their relationship is? Do they not realize how this is affecting everybody else? And then you sort of blame it on the whole, like, well, yeah, they're very young.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I, made all the best decisions in my earlier relationships. And I'm
Right.
sure if they were filmed and then broadcast for the world to see, I would look at them in a very different light as well. But at the same time, kind of like what we said earlier, Kim and Marcus have the self awareness enough to say, we're in a toxic relationship. So it's like at this point, you're complacent in the toxicity. It seems like, like they said, they break up to make up. They never actually have the makeup conversation. It just seems like it's very routine for their
Yeah.
relationship to operate that way.
Yeah. It's so strange to me. I really don't get those two. And I kind of feel like there's like this other element where like once you've pretended everything is fine and then you're wanting everyone else to get on that bandwagon, it's odd, right? Because it's not even like they're making up, like you said, right? They're not actually making up. They just get back together. They fall back into each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they're actually having a conversation and then saying to Venus and their other friends like, "Hey, we actually really worked it out. Here's what he explained to me. I didn't understand where he was coming from and we really rectified things." They're not even doing that. They're almost like gaslighting their friends into being like, what are you even talking about? We're fine, right? Which is
Yeah.
also really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see Natalie and Shane go on a rock climbing date, and I would also hate this kind of date. And I love the way that she's describing this. She's like, "Is this for adults or children?" Right? Like she doesn't give a fuck. She is just herself, and if she doesn't like something or she doesn't want to do something, she'll just say that. We did get to learn a little bit more about her and Shane in here. So she had back surgery because she had scoliosis. She has 24 screws in her back. And Shane broke his back when he was 19 because he got shot 3 times by his best friend. And I'm like, back this up, back this up. What happened
Same.
here?
Three
I was like,
times I watched that scene.
I'm confused. So, from what I understand, I don't know what it had to do with modeling, but he did bring that up initially that he got a deal with like a modeling agency. But then he was like, got in a fight with like his friends, or no, he got in a fight with like a bunch of guys, and his best friend was there. And in the kerfuffle of all of that, I guess his friend shot him 3 times, and he became paralyzed and had to learn to re-walk again. And I didn't really like this guy to begin with. He was giving me sort of like clout chaser, player vibes. I mean, he even calls himself like a very, what does he say? Like a kind player or like a player with a heart or something like that. But like, I already had already planned not to get into this character. I just did not think he was going to be worth our time. And I was just like, oh, whoa, this is like quite the backstory. Yeah, what did you think of that, hearing that? This is so not something we ever typically hear on, Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah. I mean, shocked, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, I was like washing the dishes during this part of the show. And I was like, did I hear that correctly? And literally like had to go back and rewind it because, like you said, it's something that we have never heard. The story is pretty wild. It's pretty
Yeah.
intense. I didn't really know what to make of it. I still kind of don't know what to make of it. I mean, um, sure it added another layer to like the complexity of who he is as a person. I still don't know how I feel about him. It's like, it's funny, I watch it with my husband and he's like, oh, this type of guy gets all the girls, and I'm like, no, like I would not be into this at all. So
I
that's
feel like
kind of
not in
like,
2025. Like we're beyond
yeah,
guys like that.
yeah, I kind of feel like that's where I'm at. Like I don't want to say
Same.
he gives me ick, but like
Yeah,
a little bit.
totally.
I'm
You know
sorry. I
what
know
gave me
that's
the ick? You know what gave me the ick? At the end of that like whole spiel where he explains what happens to him, he actually has like the audacity to say that it's like it helps him get girls, basically, you know? And I'm like, I
right,
don't like that.
right,
I don't like that.
right. Yeah,
Like turn your trauma into something positive, sure, but like to make it sort of like icky like that, it is an ick, right? It's
yeah,
icky.
yeah.
Okay, and then we have Chris and Audrey going on a horseback riding date. Now, I think she's so funny, like you said, so interesting, and I really like her confidence. I love that she thinks that Chris being like a decade older than her means that he had a BlackBerry because like that's not quite old enough for that. My dad, I think, still has a BlackBerry, but he is 70. So, but yeah, she's saying that, she's a relationship girly. She falls fast and hard, so sort of like Angelica. And then he has to bring up the two dating shows that he's been on, which he has brought up repeatedly. And I thought it was funny that she didn't actually know about that. He's like, oh, you don't know? Okay, I'll tell you the story, right? And so he tries to play this whole game of like, well, because I've been on all these reality dating shows, I'm attracting the wrong kind of girl. And like, it makes me feel like a piece of meat. But I'm like, dude, are you kidding? You did not genuinely go on a show called Dated and Related or Perfect Match to find your wife. Those are not the
Right.
conventional shows for that. You would have gone on The Bachelor. You went on the horror shows, right? You went on the
Yeah,
shows that would
yeah.
either get you reality TV fame or would get you, yeah, I mean, he even said that in the first episode. He said that, like, I am trying to get on television. People have said that I have this look, right? I've got this De Niro look. And so that's why I'm here. And I appreciate the honesty. But at the same time, it's like, how dare you when it comes to dating then? Because you're not genuinely serious about looking for someone if you're going on shows like that, in my
Yeah, and
opinion.
I can't remember like the timeline of it and how close they were. I'd be interested to see because, maybe he did do those shows when it couldn't have been that long ago. Like what, 2, 3 years ago?
Definitely not longer than that. But yeah, the trajectory of when these shows film is so difficult because like Perfect Match, that filmed before like so many seasons of Love is Blind were actually even aired. I don't even know how all
Right.
that stuff works, but definitely a while ago. I just don't. I mean, everybody knows that Perfect Match is the slutty version of Love is Blind, and Bachelor in Paradise is the slutty version of The Bachelor. So it's like I don't genuinely believe he. That being said, I didn't watch him on Dated and Related, so I never got to see him like talk about what he's looking for. Perfect Match, wasn't he the one? Did you watch?
Um, Here and there.
I feel like he was really aggressive. If he's the right one, I'm not sure if I'm pegging him as the right one. He was super aggressive with the girl that he was with and really controlling with her. And they ended up like breaking up like 5 minutes later. So I don't know. I just don't know how seriously I take someone, like you said, right? Somebody who's coming into this sphere after having been on many of these shows. And we are looking for authenticity in our characters. And like you said earlier, the whole Chris and Jason thing, it gives clout, right? Because this is your third reality show, right? It's giving Marciano.
Oh gosh, don't even utter the name. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
I don't know about this guy.
I kind of had that reaction from the get-go because, as soon as you see the cast release, if you work in this industry, you already know, okay, well, he's been on these two other dating shows, so that automatically put him in like this category in my mind. I actually feel like, and I don't know if maybe I was just softening to him or if I wasn't paying close enough attention, but I feel like the scene with him and Audrey made me see him in like a slightly different light where I was like, okay, like can I blame him forever for wanting to go on these reality TV shows when it's just a different landscape. The original cast were still trying to achieve the same things. It's just in a different form because we're 12 years later. Had there been influencers and these types of reality dating shows however many years ago, who's to say that any of those people wouldn't have been on it? Tom Sandoval was on The Hills and Kristen was, sending in her casting tapes and stuff. So it just it makes you wonder, like in the zeitgeist, how things compare and contrast. But for some reason, I was like softening to him. Maybe it was the flannel shirt and like the cowboy boots. I was like, maybe I should give him a little bit of grace.
You know what, Morgan? You schooled me today. You just taught me something. You made me think about something in a completely different way because way back in OG Vanderpump, yes, this is what they were trying to do. They were trying to become famous, but it was in a different way because there weren't influencers or reality TV shows. So you were trying to become an actor, a comedian, a singer, right? They were all
Mm-hmm.
trying to do those things. That's the whole point of working at bars in LA. This is what you're doing in the meantime. And that seemed completely fine and normal. So you're absolutely right. And I don't know why I'm thinking about it differently. And I think that there's a different, maybe respect level that comes with being on a reality TV show or even being an influencer or just different types of fame in this day and age. And so maybe when we look at these more modern ways of achieving fame, we get more of an ick factor. Well, the traditional ways just seemed more traditional. I mean, if Chris was out here saying, I've been on I can't even remember these kinds of shows, the names of the shows now, but the kinds where like you perform, right? Like America's Got Talent or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Like he's
Yeah.
a singer, and he's an amazing artist in some way. And so he's gone on a bunch of different reality shows to try to get famous as a singer, including Vanderpump Rules, because now he's living in LA and he's trying to make that happen. We wouldn't look at it as like a gross thing. We'd be like, live your dreams, do your thing,
Yeah.
right? Like try to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And so it's so interesting to think about it that way. And it's really how we categorize types of fame and how we place respect on them, right? With reality TV, we always sort of think like even though it is a much bigger thing today than it used to be, and it is an actual avenue to fame that it didn't used to be. But it's just really interesting to look at it from like the vein of like there's there's reality TV or there's types of fame that we respect, and that there's reality TV and types of fame that we consider sort of icky. So when we hear that somebody's been on three reality shows, we're like, ew, clout chaser. But if we heard that somebody was in three movies, we'd be
Right.
like impressed, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well,
You
there you
schooled me
go.
today, Morgan. I like that.
Learning
I
new
like the way you
things
think.
every day.
Okay, so we get this rooftop pool hangout, which really reminded me of like old Vanderpump days where they would like play chicken in the water during the day and go to Sir at night. Um, Basically, what happened here between Kim and Marcus, because they're pissed at Venus for being pissed at them, they went ahead and told everyone at Sir all the shit that Venus has ever said about them. And I did not like that. Because, it's something that I even feel like Chriselle is doing in like the Selling Sunset sphere. It's like if you're friends with someone and you have their secrets, if you are no longer friends with them, those secrets should be safe, right? You shouldn't be going and telling everybody what everyone else has said about them. And this is going to ruin your friendship long term, right? I get why, Kim and Marcus are a little bit pissed with Venus because they just want him to be on their side. But to go and try to ruin all of his relationships with everybody else that he works with seems way too dramatic for the circumstance.
Definitely. It's next level. And it's also super immature.
Yeah,
Like I don't know how old these people are. Like
I always
I
forget.
think some of them are like in their 30s, some of
I
them
know
are
they're
in their
probably older than we
20s.
think, right? We're giving them way too
Yeah.
much credit.
But I'm just like, under what circumstance, like as an adult, is that your MO? Which it's like if I were friends with them, even if I was not Venus, if I was just another friend of Kim and Marcus, that would like really scare me off of them. But also at the same time, I didn't like how Venus was acting towards that one random girl. I was like, what does this girl have to do with anything? Who is she? What are they exactly arguing about? I kind of felt like they put that in just to have a fight in the
Hmm.
episode because there was like not enough real context for it to make sense. And I was like, okay, again, the decision making process in the editing, it's like, okay, well, am I just going to put this fight in because it's a reality TV show and there's supposed to be fights? Because I wasn't really understanding what was going on.
Okay, I am not normally the one to have the context, but I feel like I did pick up the context. She was one of the people that Kim and Marcus had messaged and said Venus was talking shit about you. Venus said XYZ. I wasn't paying enough attention to see what it was. But
Yeah.
then, so her name is Gabby. And so Gabby and Venus started fighting over the fact that apparently Venus had said some shit about her that Kim and Marcus told her. So now he's pissed that she's bringing it up, I guess. I think they only got into it at the restaurant. So he's the one who's instigating it at the pool party, right? Because she is not talking to him. She has not come up to him. So he's literally, I mean, in all fairness, if you were talking shit about her, she has a right to be upset. It wasn't cool of Kim and Marcus to do that. But what are you upset about, Venus? You're upset that she's mad that you were talking shit about her. So it did really feel like he was just starting a fight, which started a fight amongst all of them, right? They all just
Yeah.
started going at it, which I loved. It just reminded me of like old Vanderpump Rules. But yeah, I think that's what was going on there. But
I think
I
it
don't
was that
love when they
she's
bring in other
not.
people that we don't really know
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah,
I think that that was the disconnect because
yeah,
it's like you know, you saw the little pop-up text message from Gabby, or is that her name? Is that what you said her name?
Gabby,
See
yeah,
what I mean? Like I can't
right.
like I'm like, who am I talking about here? Why is this important to the context of
She's
the
not
rest
even
of the
mic'd.
people? Yeah, and I mean, I guess it is in the grand scheme of thing important to see how that affects Kim Marcus and Venus. But by that point in the episode, I was like, okay, it's almost over. The episode, we're like at minute 40. I don't know if
Yeah,
my brain can hang on to all of these little like wires being crossed. So that's just how I felt about it.
yeah. All right. Well, that was Vanderpump Rules, right? And like you said, it's so hard not to compare, but we see just so many similarities in it between our old show, our new show. So yeah, like the fighting, the rooftop pools, the toxic relationships. I understand why people aren't into it, but I am still powering through because I have high hopes, which I never did, right? I was totally on the bandwagon of like, I'm not going to watch this. I'm not interested. But there's a couple of characters like Natalie, Audrey, Angelica, who I'm into. And I do kind of like watching that sort of chaos. So, like, even that whole thing about like Natalie, like showing up at the restaurant drunk, trying to attack her ex-boyfriend Paulo. I love that shit, right? Like, give me more of that. So,
Yeah.
if we could build on that as in addition to being able to become invested in these characters, maybe this can go somewhere. I mean, I'm sure you saw in the news that apparently the show's been canceled, which I don't think is true. And it's also ridiculous because like that Kim Kardashian show has been renewed, right? Like the shittiest shows on TV will be renewed. If there's any money coming in, they'll be renewed. But we do need more people to sort of get on the bandwagon and try. Like nobody's watching it, I feel like.
Yeah, it just takes time, you
Yeah,
know, and I feel like it probably doesn't help that they release the show around the holiday season. I mean, people are
good
so
point.
busy. You know, there's a lot of stuff right now that's fighting for our attention. And for a brand new show where people are already kind of skeptical of it, I just feel like maybe even that was a misstep. But it does take time, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep on keeping on, and then once we're done with this season, you know, maybe we'll be able to have a more concrete opinion. But I agree with you; it takes time, and we have to tread through the waters.
We do because like Southern hospitality, I feel like is such a vibe. And like as
Yeah.
much as we try to tell people to get into it, it's people don't like change and they don't want to get invested in new characters. So like it does take time, like you said. All right, let's move on to the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And this week we are still in Greece. So it's actually Mother's Day, and the ladies are there without their kids. And Heather loves it. And I am just living for Heather's relationship with her children and how she portrays it. Some people might find it a little bit like, whoa, right? But I actually love that she is just so honest about the fact that she has been parenting these kids 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without the help of her ex-husband, even when they were together. And I think there's a lot of power in saying, like, I am a woman who needs time to herself. I need to be able to have a Mother's Day that is about me and not about my children. And yeah, I just love that she is so honest about not being excited, but yeah, being excited about her life beyond her kids.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like her comment about Mother's Day being a day that she gets to spend by herself, and saying this is really what Mother's Day should be. And some people may look at that as a negative connotation, but like I've heard that I don't have any kids, so I don't like have any skin in the game at this moment in time. But I have heard that from a lot of people, like send me to the spa by myself, let me get a pedicure, whatever, for Mother's Day instead of having to be the one, taking care of everything all day long. So like I said, I don't have any personal experience, but I have heard other mothers say the same thing that she is. So it's bound to be relatable with some people out there.
Yeah. And especially with Brittany is going through too, where she's like, it's sort of bittersweet for me being like, I have children, but I don't have the same relationship with my children that these other women do. And so it's nuanced for her because she's watching the other women talk about it in such an uncomplicated way. And for her, it's so complicated. Now, I did have Olivia on my podcast, and her relationship with her mother has progressed immensely. I mean, we even saw her at BravoCon with Jared and the unicorn. Everybody was there, right? And actually, Brittany had her one woman show where she had Olivia go up and sing with her, right? So it's so nice to see that relationship change. I guess I feel I can relate a little bit in the sense that, like, I don't have kids either, but I don't have a good relationship with my mom. We're actually currently estranged and haven't spoken for a year. But holidays like Mother's Day were complex for me because it's like, I have to spend time with you because you're my mom and this is what we're supposed to do, but I also don't want to because we have this strained relationship. And she would sort of feel the same, I would assume, because it was never like an enjoyable experience. So it's complicated. I feel like it can definitely be complicated to, be a mom and have children. It's not necessarily just this matter of like, of course your kids want to spend Mother's Day with you, or of course you want to spend it with them, right? It can definitely be a lot more nuanced than that.
And then you have Meredith on the other hand.
Okay. Okay. Now, I so many thoughts. Okay. So Brooks calls her while the women are all fighting, and Heather is still fighting with Meredith over, honestly, Morgan, God knows what at this point. God knows what. She is upset, I believe, because Meredith said you would stop being friends with me if I keep being friends with Brittany. That's what I think this is still about. God knows. I don't know. But while they're having this fight, Brooks calls Meredith to say Happy Mother's Day. And everybody thinks that's atrocious. And like, I kind of don't though, right? Like you're on vacation and yeah, you're in a fight, but like your kid calls. Your kid calls
Answer
you
the
answer the
phone.
phone. Hey,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I'm like, let her live.
yeah.
And I will say, I hated the Heather confessional with her on the phone, like mocking Meredith. I just kind of felt like in that moment, it was a bit try hard and it did not land, I don't think, the way that Heather wanted it to land.
Heather has been doing that all season, I feel like. I feel like she's
Yeah.
trying to come off as like this really big personality and trying to be the hilarious one, right? But her jokes, like you say, don't always land. Um, and I'm right there with Meredith, okay? Like your kid's calling you, you answer the phone, and it's Mother's Day. But I'm not with her in the vein of like, this was the only time she would ever be able to speak with him. She was acting as though he were going off to war. This was the
Yeah.
last conversation they were ever going to have. She's weepy about it. And when all of the women are like, Meredith, you knew we planned this trip over Mother's Day. Shut up.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You knew when this trip was. If Mother's Day was that important to you and you wanted to spend time with Brooks that badly, you wouldn't have gone on this trip or you would have made them reschedule, right? Like every single person here is a mother. Every single person knew it was Mother's Day and every single person agreed to go on this trip. Nobody forced you to be here. So you're acting in this very like, you know, I'm never going to be able to speak to my son. That was our last opportunity, right? Like
It's
as
an
if he was going on a
excuse.
mission.
Yeah, it's an excuse for her to, have a bad attitude when really we know that it's a list of things that have happened and this is just the tipping point. It's the
Right.
most recent thing to happen. So it's easier to just say, I'm upset about this than to say, I'm upset about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I want to talk to my son.
Right. No, for sure. And then she ends up just like walking away because they are basically trying to go on two different excursions. Some of the ladies are going to go donkey riding, and some of the ladies are going to go to a cooking class. And so Meredith is just trying to make a point and walk away. But you're in Greece, right? Have you ever been in one of those situations where like you're trying to walk away from the situation because you're so upset? I got in a fight with a guy. We weren't even dating. We were friends. I went to visit him in Australia and we got in a fight at the zoo and he walked away from me without me noticing. And I spent the entire rest of the day looking for him. It's like
Oh,
extremely stressful when you don't know where you are, right? So you're like
yeah.
trying to make a point, but at the end of the day, you gotta, she kind of embarrassed herself because she had to come back. She had to come back.
Look, she did what she needed to do in the moment. Honestly, we've
Yeah,
all been there.
totally. The funniest part for me though was when she came back to the cooking class and the guy Giovanni who was helping them cook or whatever, he's like,
God
"Sweetheart, what
bless
is wrong?
him.
Tell
I
me." She's like, "Oh,
know.
women aren't being very nice to me." And he does not know what to say. So he's just like, "Wine makes everything better."
I
And it
know.
does.
He was the star of the show for sure.
So funny. Okay, so basically, this whole trip ends up coming down to the strife between Whitney and Meredith, right? And like you said, nobody is just saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the things that are upsetting me. So Lisa tries to jump in and she's like, Whitney, it's the fact that you called her a pill popper. It's the fact that you called her a cheater. These are the things. And then Whitney tries to kind of deflect that. She's like, well, I want to hear it from Meredith, right? Like, this is so unfair to me that, like, I'm having to deal with it this way. And I loved Meredith's response where she's like, I'm sure you do feel that way, Whitney. That was so
Yeah.
right. Like I know this show is supposed to be about fighting and stuff like that, but like I love there is nothing that pisses somebody off more when you just sort of go like blank face and you don't
Yeah.
react to what the other person is wanting you to react to. It makes them react even more. It drives them nuts. And I kind of loved it.
And she told no lies. Like that is exactly what Whitney was thinking in that moment too.
Yeah. What do you think about Britney trademarking high body count hair?
It's like I want to say I hate it, right? Because
Yeah.
it should be Angie's. Like I think we can all agree that it should be Angie's. But I love it at the same time. Like, how can you not like appreciate the fact that she did it? It's like, I don't know. Angie should have done it sooner if she really cared, right? But at the same time, it's like she didn't do it. So Brittany did it. And are you going to be mad because Brittany did it and you didn't do it? Like, yeah, it's cringy because Brittany's not the one that said it and Angie is the one that said
But
it.
Britney is cringy. That's her MO. That's
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
Britney.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think it's so funny. And it sort of made me think like it's a little bit different because there's no like trademark involved. But technically speaking, receipts, proof, timeline screenshots was actually said by Monica, if you think about it. At that dinner table, at that sit down,
Mm-hmm.
Heather was kind of coming at Monica and she's like, well, why do you think we're in this situation or why do you think this is happening? And she's like, well, I have the receipts, right? And, you know, I have the timeline, I have the whatever. And then Heather picks up on that, takes those words and says them and then it becomes like her trademark in a sense, right? Again,
Right,
she's not
right.
actually trademarking it. She's not actually making money off of it. But if you think about it, it was actually Monica who said those words, but Heather who got to take the fame from it. And so I think that that's what Britney's trying to do. It has happened before, right? And I think there is something to be said about like who the characters are. If this were Bronwyn, I feel like people would have a much different reaction than if it's Brittany, because Brittany is our
Yeah,
silly character where we're just like, that's Brittany, you know? And I feel like
yeah,
because we think of Brittany in that way, in this like non-serious way, we don't get mad at the things that she does, I guess, as much as the other women.
yeah, totally. You expect it from
Right.
Brittany.
I love her as a character. I really do. I don't know if you heard that there's like in the zeitgeist, people are saying that Meredith has been offered a reduced role, that she's turned it down, and she might not be coming back next year. Do you think that's true? And what do you think about that?
I don't really know what to think about it, to be completely honest with you. I feel like the timing doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know that they would be in contract negotiations right now because there is normally like a little bit of a buffer period between seasons where I feel like
Right.
sometimes they like to take a beat. So that's where my mind first goes. On the flip side of things, I can't necessarily say that I would be surprised if that was the case because Meredith Marks is always disengaging and the point of the show is to engage.
Right.
So and I think that there is a way because you want Meredith to be authentic to herself, right? But you don't want her to disengage so much that she's now disconnected, which I feel like sometimes we get into that territory where she doesn't want to play ball so much that it takes away content from the show. So
Right.
I could understand it from whoever's making the decisions, and you're looking at the budget and you're looking at salary increases year to year, because the longer they're on the show, the more they get paid. And it's like, are you going to pay Meredith this amount of money when she just keeps, for lack of a better word, disengaging? I don't think I would be mad about it, to be completely honest with you, either, because for all of the reasons that I just said.
Yeah. It's weird though, because it is one of the longer standing shows with the same OGs, right? We don't have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those. And again, we don't like change and we don't like to get to know new people, but she isn't really bringing anything to the show anymore, right? I mean, even the other characters notice it. They'll say, like, oh, how did Meredith react to such and such a situation? Oh, she was typical Meredith. Didn't say anything? Nope, right? So even they notice that she is not engaging, right? And those moments where she like literally tried to grab that waiter and was like, "Can you please kick this woman out of the restaurant?" Right? I
Yeah.
love those moments for Meredith when she like changes accents, when she just like blows her gasket. But maybe it's become too much for her, the
Yeah.
engagement part, and maybe she finds it too exhausting. And so she's just trying to like skate through by just being like acting like a B-level character with A-level credentials, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, you kind of can't do that forever. The audience notices. We notice it in other shows too, right? Like Erica Jane, Heather Dubrow, right? Like there's only so many storylines about like your homes that we can talk about. So we need
Yeah.
to see more from you. And I think she has the potential. Like I said, we've seen it before. It's up to her
Yeah, I
if she
think
wants
part
to
of
give
it
it.
too, I think part of it too, which I feel like we should probably, give Meredith some grace for, is that a lot of things that are coming her way this season are very harsh and could be detrimental to her, what's the word I'm looking for? Um
Reputation.
yes. Like with Whitney insinuating that she pops pills or is an alcoholic and potentially blacked out on an airplane, those are very serious. It's moments like that where I can understand why she would want to distance herself from it. It's
Right.
like it's not like the high body count hair trademark. It's actually things that could impact her business and her reputation. But it can't be consistently with every single thing that happens in a season. But I also do kind of feel like, because of those stronger accusations, she tends to shut down, and you can't get her back to where she was, because she's got all these thoughts in the back of her head about those
Yeah.
accusations.
Do you think Whitney means it when she says like that she was sorry for saying those things, but it doesn't mean that she is not just as concerned for her friend? I mean, friend is a loose term, right? But like, do you
Yeah.
think that Whitney brings these things up to cause drama? Or do you think she is genuinely concerned that Meredith is an alcoholic or has a pill problem?
No, I think she brings it up to stir the pot.
Hmm. And that's why it's even more fucked up because, like you said, it is so detrimental, not just to your reputation, but like to your family. I mean, like you could
Yeah.
have like grandparents coming up to you after seeing something on TV and being like, do we need to be worried about you, right? Do we need to help you? Do we need to take you somewhere? And that happens on a lot of these shows, right? If something comes up like that, it's only normal for friends and family members to approach you about it. And that's not necessarily something that she wants, right? Because let's say she doesn't have a problem. That is so fucked up to even put out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, can you
Because even if
imagine people saying that
it's
about you and you do not have that problem?
right. And I mean, even if it's not true, there will be people who still believe that it
Hmm.
is.
Right,
And you can say it until you're blue in the face, and they still will be committed to believing these things about you. So
right.
I can understand her frustration about that.
Yeah. No, and Whitney does it in a really interesting way where she has always really tried to come off really like light and fluffy and also like she is trying to do everything from the best place. And I think that just drives Lisa and Meredith absolutely nuts because they think she is
Yeah.
just vile to her core, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
These shows are just giving. I am living in the Bravoverse right now where we have what, like five Bravo shows on right now? Like, thank you,
Yes.
Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And thank you, Morgan, for being here today. I really, really appreciate it. Where can people follow you and listen to you to see what you have going on?
On social media, it's Morgan P Talks, TikTok and Instagram. I cover all things reality TV. My podcast comes out every single Thursday. It's called Morgan's Pop Talks. You can find that on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And then if you want even more episodes, I have a Patreon where we cover Bachelor Nation news and every Bravo headline every single week. So that's patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks.
That sounds good. You guys better sign up. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BB. See you next time.